How's it going, everybody? My name is Paulo Rubio, aka GN. Welcome to another episode of the FMA Dumpster Fire podcast. I tried to do this podcast earlier by playing video clips off a YouTube video. I had Coach Greg Nelson, who is a really awesome guy, along with Todd Fossey. And yeah, the audio didn't play through. I made a fool of myself for 17 minutes. But the whole point of the podcast threefold, and I'm gonna bring it up right here. Number one, you don't get as good as Tatang Illustrissimo by studying Calis Illustrissimo. That can never happen. He never had a system. It was his students that wrote some things down. And this was a story shared by Coach Greg Nelson. If you guys want to watch the full podcast, you can hear this directly from Coach Greg Nelson. And by the way, Coach Greg Nelson has hopefully four UFC champions. He's the head coach of UFC champions. He's a fourth degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu under Professor Pedro Sauer. He's a military combatives instructor. He's an Ajahn in Muay Thai. He beat cancer a whole bunch of times. He's good friends and studies with Guru Dan Inasanto. And the point that Coach Greg Nelson, if I may paraphrase, is it's about individualism, and that you cannot trust the experiences of someone else to be passed on to you by osmosis. You need to have the ability to critically think and take your journey under your own hands. You got to be accountable for your progress. And I was thinking, he wasn't the first person that I heard this from, that Tatang Illustrissimo would often, when asked questions, okay, how do you block that? And then, he would block, and then they would do it again, and he would do something completely different. Because he never had a system. It was never standardized. So if we think about, the instructors who propose that, they have the Calis Illustrissimo system today, it really highlights a little bit, the slight ridiculousness of that, because Tatang Illustrissimo never had a system. What he had was a process. And so I think to a degree, some of that is lost, and understandably so, because that is not really something that you can scale to the masses. And what you would need is a one-on-one personalized student-teacher relationship in order for somebody to get as good, even though nobody can be as good as, Tatang Illustrissimo. Perhaps they can get close. But the moment that process becomes standardized and away from the actual process of Tatang Illustrissimo, then the students haven't got a chance to be anywhere near as great as he was. So that was the point that Coach Greg Nelson was trying to make. When we think about standardization in Filipino martial arts, it seems like there are truths that have been spoken by so many people, but when those words are uttered, it still is offensive. And that is that Filipino martial arts was never really designed to be scaled and standardized to the masses, right? It was father teaching son how to defend himself. That was the nature of the Filipino martial arts. And so when you take that fact and you say you can't teach FMA effectively once you standardize it and you try to scale it to a lot of people, people become upset at that. Now, there is a purpose to standardization. And my friend Todd Fossey, who is the chief instructor of Integrative Defense Strategies, brings up a very good point. When you think about, the military, where you have to get a lot of people to, some semblance of functional skill sets in a finite amount of time, you got to put them through a process. It has to be standardized, right? Soldiers aren't, individually mentored by soldiers who have come before them. That's just a fact. Even though that, that would be a great way to learn. And really, that's the only way to learn Filipino martial arts in the old way. We have an opportunity for that. We can actually have the best of both worlds. You can have your, Tuesday and Thursday evening classes to learn from somebody, from an instructor. And then hopefully you have an opportunity to learn from a coach, to learn from a teacher who can give you that personalized guidance so that they can assess who you are and what you're capable of, your personal style. And whatever that system is that they're trying to teach you, they should be trying to reformulate that system to fit the individual and not the other way around. Too often, the opposite happens. You take people who have different characteristics, different intentions, different strengths, and different weaknesses, and you try to fit them all into this same standardized Filipino martial arts curriculum. And that works for business, that works in mass, that works for scale. But by virtue of having a curriculum, we have to accept the fact that it's going to be a watered down version of the original, and that's going to hurt people's feelings. Especially, there are some people in Pikiti Tertia who are like, "Oh, we're so authentic. We're the only authentic," and it's like that's the most bullshit statement that you could ever say about Pikiti Tertia, is to claim that what you have is authentic. Because there is no such thing as authentic Pikiti Tertia. There is no such thing as an authentic Pikiti Tertia system. There may be true Pikiti, there may be a Pikiti Tertia process, but no Pikiti Tertia system will ever, no matter how good it may be, can never live up to the Pikiti Tertia process, which is a one-on-one training with somebody who really loves and cares about your survival. Right, so no such thing as authentic Pikiti, and I really don't care now these days if people are offended by that, because it is the truth. All right, the next thing I wanted to talk about that they covered was that seminars get a bad rap these days, and for good reason. There are a lot of people who go to seminars just for the photo op. There are a lot of people who go to seminars just for that piece of paper, that certificate that they can hang on their wall, or that they can show off to their students and say, "Hey, look what I did." But that's not really the purpose of a seminar. The purpose of a seminar, and again, going back to what Coach Greg Nelson said, and what made him and the old school guys great, is that they had to make a lot of sacrifices to get bits of information. So they would go to an 8-hour seminar. They would drive 4 hours to this 8-hour seminar, work their butts off, and then come home. And then what they would do is they would lab it out. They would drill, they would execute, they would analyze, they would drill, they would execute, they would analyze. And then the next opportunity comes along where they see the instructor again. They're like, "Hey, here's what we did. Here's how we played with the concepts." That's how you're supposed to do seminars. And the problem, or the potential problem, with going through weekly classes or 2 classes a week, the problem with that is an over dependence on an authority. It you lose accountability for your own journey. You're not labbing things out, and you're testing things out in your garage and in your backyards with the people that you train with, or maybe even some strangers. You may lose the ability to think critically and to ask questions, because you may be afraid to disrupt a class or to offend the instructor. So that was the nature of what I wanted to talk about today. That Tatang Illustrissimo did not have a system by all accounts. Everyone that I spoke with agreed with this, but somehow when I say it, it's offensive. His students, okay, did that, right? But this piece of paper that these students observe Tatang Illustrissimo is not Calisi Illustrissimo. Calisi Illustrissimo is a process. Again, I hope that's not offensive, and I hope that even if it is offensive, you see a glimmer of truth to that. Like if Tatang Illustrissimo, like I said, if he was immortal today, there would be no Calisi Illustrissimo system. There would be a Tatang Illustrissimo method. The next one was, the problem with standardization. We all know the problem with standardization, but it may be the lesser of two evils, right? When you have a curriculum and you know exactly what you need to learn to pass what level and get what rank, there's a benefit to that. And these days, doing that right, I mean, I can think of, for me, the shining example might be like the PTI in the Pikiti Tertia community. It is a very standardized system, but even within that framework, I mean, those dudes spar, those dudes experiment, right? Same with the PTTA, and so you have to balance out, the strict adherence to a curriculum and standardization with personal accountability and just sparring, fighting a lot. And again, going back to my last point, it's great that you can go to a Filipino martial arts class every Tuesdays and Thursdays and meet the same people and be amongst like-minded individuals. And maybe that's an escape, which is perfectly fine. Maybe you're in it for exercise, which is perfectly fine. But just please, please, please keep in mind that because you're constantly exposing yourself to this authority figure, do not lose your sovereignty. Do not lose your ability, or your right to ask questions. Do not stop being analytical. Do not forfeit your creativity just because you've got the security blanket of guru to tell you exactly what to do, for how long, when, every Tuesdays and Thursdays. So there's a real danger in overdependence and the forfeiting of sovereignty and creative freedom and accountability if you have these regularly scheduled classes. So I'm not saying these are inherently bad things. I'm saying that the practitioner ought to take accountability, is to balance these things out, right? Study the Calis Illustrissimo curriculum system, whether you want to do that from Romeo Macapagal, or Arnold Narzo, or whoever. If you want to go the Tony Diego line or the Macapagal line, that's fine. That has a purpose, that has a value. But to say this is Calis Illustrissimo is kind of silly to me, because I believe, there is no such thing as a Calis Illustrissimo system, but what's valuable is the Tatang Illustrissimo method. Again, these are what I perceive to be truths based on the knowledge that I've been acquired. If I'm to be proven wrong, I wish to do that in a way that's civilized, right? I don't want somebody to get mad and be like, Paulo said this, and then gossip, in back rooms, right? If I'm wrong, give me an opportunity to be right. And let's do that through civil discussion or through clashing sticks. I'm good, really, either way. And, on a final note, there will be a resistance to somebody like me in the Filipino martial arts community who has a massive platform. So whether it's this channel, it's not massive, it's just a little over 1,000, but my network is vast. There's Aperture Fight Focus, which is approaching 70,000 subscribers. There's Funker Tactical, that's 1.1 million. Not to mention, the other people that I help run networks. So my hope is that I'm not vilified, because I think what I'm doing is good for the Filipino martial arts, right? Like, we've never really had this. I mean, we've had radio shows, we've had forums, right? We've had like FMA Digest or whatever, but never in the history of the Filipino martial arts have we seen this many people studying it, this many people interested in it, and it has never happened at this precise same time in history where people have the opportunity to earn an audience that is infinitely broader than any one system in Filipino martial arts. So I wish to wield that, power, silly, with integrity, because my objective is to serve the Filipino martial arts, and I understand that it's going to be uncomfortable sometimes. It's going to be uncomfortable because we've never had this. We're so used to chismis and gossip and talking behind closed doors, and if somebody offends us, the typical Filipino martial arts way is they'll fucking talk shit in forums for a little while. They'll posture and pretend like they're going to set up some sort of a challenge match, which never happens, because one or both parties are going to create stipulations that the other is never going to agree to. And so because of that, no one really fights anymore, Well, that's not true, right? Obviously it's not true. We have pockets of people who fight, but this is where we are. This is where we are in the Filipino martial arts. I am here to stay. I'm not going anywhere. If you got a problem with that, well, then, maybe you can work 10 hard years to build up a network so that you can say some shit online, that maybe we can have a debate. In the meantime, I would much rather be proven wrong through civilized conversation and give you, the people who may disagree with me, the platform to speak with a wide, wide audience. All right? And that's gonna come with some growing pains, That's gonna come with some growing pains. It's gonna come with a lot of people liking me and hating me and appreciating what I'm doing, and then once they disagree with me, all of a sudden I'm a villain. Well, it is what it is. But here's what I'll do. I'm gonna put myself on the line. Paulo de Leon Rubio, with his real face and with his real name, is going to stand behind the things that he says. Fuck, I can't believe I'm speaking in the third party. Who am I? Right? But I'm not going to hide behind a profile image. I'm not going to hide behind a keyboard. I'm here. I'm not challenged. It's not an open challenge, right? But I have the conviction to put my face, to put my name behind my opinions. I'm not hiding behind a computer screen or a keyboard. I travel the world. I may be in your backyard, but even the people who've had issues with me in the past and who were quite heated, we meet in person and it's like, "What's up, homie? You good?" And that all usually ends up hugs and cool, man. We're cool. We're cool. And that's the Filipino way. That's the Filipino way. And if we can't get past that, then even with a smile on my face, I'll be like, "Hey, let's go put on some fencing masks and let's go deal with this for a little bit." And maybe we just need to expel that negative energy before we can get to talking calmly with one another. Jeremy, I suppose it depends on the kind of student you are. On average, when in classes, I train with my instructors 3 hours a week. Yeah. Look, Filipino martial artists do what you just did a lot too, right? Like and this is, I hate to single you out, Jeremy, but you've commented and I appreciate you very much. Whenever I point out a discrepancy or something that can be improved upon in Filipino martial arts, it's always like the majority of the commentary is divisive. One says, "Well, that's not the way we do it, and I do it like this, blah, blah, blah." And the other side's like, "Hey, you know what? I think Paulo's right." Um, but just because there are anomalies, there will always be exceptions to the rule, right? Can you be great going to Tuesdays and Thursday classes? Yeah, absolutely. But that's not going to be the norm, right? Are there benefits to standardization? Absolutely. But again, without balance, that's meaningless. So these are my points. And again, another thing I want to address is like people deem me to be disrespectful because I don't, suckle on the nipple of somebody who's old and has been doing FMA for 30 years. I feel like, so what? So what? I don't know you. You're not my elder. There's 100 of you. There's thousands of you. I'm not gonna give you, default respect that hasn't been earned, just because you've been doing something for 30 years. Heck, you could have been doing it wrong for 30 years. Who knows? But it's not like I'm trying to be disrespectful. I'm just trying to say that, look, just because you're old and you swung a stick, if this respect thing is not going to be a two-way street, then I'm completely disinterested in that. I'm not going to bow to your authority, right? Why? Because you got a title that's meaningless outside of like FMA, right? Your title isn't doctor, is it? Right? It's not attorney, right? It's not sergeant. And even then, if you were a sergeant in the military, right, there's a certain kind of respect that comes with that. But that authority don't follow you when you go to, Chili's to have a burrito. It doesn't. And so I think sometimes Filipino martial arts grandmasters, it's not actually them. It's their friggin' students, The old school guys actually get me. The old school guys actually like me. Because I'm trying to bring back how they did it how they learned. It's their friggin' students, their overzealous students who are more than happy to call me out online and propose challenge matches on behalf of their instructors. Those guys are the real problem. And you know why they've got a problem with me? Is because I'm speaking the truth, and sometimes the truth is it's an insult uh, to what they've paid for. You know, accountability is a huge force. Like when you buy a piece of shit car and you're tied to that car for payments, right, for 5 to 10 years, you're gonna be insulted when your friend goes, "Yo, man, you're still driving that piece of shit." You're gonna be like, "Oh, it's fine. It just needs a little bit of this," right? So ease up, ease up. The old way to learn Filipino martial arts is still available to us, and in fact, my proposition is not to quit your Tuesdays and Thursday classes. My actually, what I'm trying to propose is to pay that Tuhan, to pay that grandmaster or that datu or that guru, pay them well, and see if they can give you one-on-one training. Then you'll really begin to experience the true nature of how our elders and our forefathers learned. But if you don't spar, and if you hide behind a fake name and a fake profile picture, or you cover up your face and you say some shit online, that is the absolute opposite of what Filipino warriors are supposed to be like. We don't hide behind that shit. And so even though some of the things that I say may be insulting, Paulo de Leon Rubio is my name. This is my real face. I stand behind it. 100%. 100%. So, and I fight, you know. I love the art, I love the history, the art, the culture, but I also fight, right? And this is what's missing in Filipino martial arts. It's this kind of, yeah, I'll stand behind what I say. I'll stand behind what I say. That's what's missing. People are just talking these days, and that's the one thing that people can't nab me for. I ain't just a talker, right? I travel the world. I meet masters. I serve them. My platform is open to them. I allow them to spread their art. I don't allow them to spread their art. They've been spreading their art, but I give them the opportunity to share their art to an audience that may be broader than sometimes that they care to wish to speak to. Because truthfully, some of the grandmasters out there they just want to do their thing. They want one or two good students, and by virtue of the fact that FMA is popular, they see it as a way to make a living, and why not do that? There's nothing wrong with that. It's beautiful, right? To be able to make a living from something that you're passionate about. So that's all I got to say for now. Yo, if you've got anything else to say, please leave it in the comment below. Again, I really appreciate you guys. Like, even the ones, here's the thing. If you make the decision, right, to type on your keyboard and tell me I'm an asshole on my YouTube channel, that's fine. It doesn't really hurt my feelings. You're just boosting my engagement rating, you know. And if you don't comment, but you watch the video and you're mad at me, then you're allowing that negativity to fester. You lose either way. So you might as well engage with me, and we may as well have a conversation, because at the very least, you get to access my network. And if you're right, I will publicly apologize, as I usually do, if I'm wrong. So I'm always open for debate. We can always have that. And that's because I love the Filipino martial arts. I love this thing, man. I really didn't expect to be gripped so hard by the Filipino martial arts. I really didn't expect it to move me so much, and I didn't really expect to be in this role that I'm in, whatever it may be. But listen, I got kids, I got bills to pay, and if I'm going to spend my time in Filipino martial arts, I'm going to fucking monetize it so that I can keep doing it, right? I think sometimes, you know, some people are like, they want to hold on to the ways of old, where there was no financial transaction between student and master. And then they also hold Zoom conferences and expect timely payments. It's crazy. It's crazy. So yeah, that's what's up. Thank you guys very much for watching the FMA Dumpster Fire. My name is Paulo Rubio, aka GN. And I hope that where we may disagree on the little things, and where you may hate me even just for a little while, I hope that you realize that those little things are trivial, because what actually binds us, the strong bind that ties us, is our love for the Filipino martial arts. We're always going to have different opinions about how best to move forward, how best to promote this. We're always going to have that. We're never going to agree on everything. So if we can always circle back and remember that we both love the Filipino martial arts, I think we're going to be fine. Otherwise, pick up a stick and come at me, bro. I think they hate it when I do that too, because most they won't do that. They won't fight me because like there's gonna be cameras and they risk losing, and how devastating would that be, right? Um, and that's why when you see me fight a Tuhan, when you see me fight a Grandmaster, when you see me fight a Guru or a Datu or a Mandala, I have so much respect for those guys because they understand the truth. I'm gonna hit them. I'm gonna hit them. They're not gonna be unscathed, but they're they're gonna teach me a lot of lessons in the process. Man, I've had concussions, I've had broken bones, I've been bruised and beaten, and man, what great lessons they are, you know. So that's it. The people that yeah, every person that you see in my video as having stepped in front of me and squared up with sticks or knives, those are the people that you should be looking out for, because they have no ego. They have a healthy sense of ego, and they're not trying to hide behind their rank, and they're not trying to be hide behind, their friggin' air drills, you know. Oh yeah, what's my opinion of Sayak Kali? I think Sayak has some great teachings, but it's the organizationally, I think that shit fucking once once the figurehead unfortunately left this world, I feel like to some degree it was ruined again by overzealous students who fought for control. And organizationally, this is what I hear, okay? I hear it's too expensive. That's what I hear. I hear it's too commercialized. For me, I know it's too secretive. Um, when you watch those old videos, when you see like the Ray Dionaldos, you see the Felix Cortezes, when they were out in the woods, and just hitting each other, making mistakes, smashing. Those were the good old days of Sayok. How come we don't see that these days? Everything's so secretive. What have they got to hide? I don't know. I don't know, man. There are so many. I mean, look, I think Sayok's a great system. I think it just suffers from a public relations nightmare brought upon by their own and their own secrecy, their insistence on secrecy. Like, my God, ain't no secrets in Filipino martial arts, man. Open up yourself to the broad market. Come fight me. Go put on like a, here you go. Any Sayok guys out there, like, please join the groups. I'll be first in line, because I want for Sayok to succeed, and I think it's a great system with a really proud and beautiful heritage. But all I see them doing is, like, I don't know, man, like fake, like fantasy stuff. No doubt that still behind some closed doors there's some good things happening, but like, just seems like knife throwing and like chess rigs to me these days. Um, I don't know. But again, if you ask me a question like, what's your opinion of Sayak Kali? I'm going to tell you what I feel. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to tell you what I feel. Ask me that about anybody, any system. I'm just going to speak the truth. Or at least my interpretation of it. And once again, if I'm wrong, I'm giving you the opportunity to come onto my platform and prove to me that I'm wrong. Okay? I'm giving you the opportunity to like step up to the plate and beat me wrong. Right? But to just gossip, like a bunch of, you know, cosmetic MLM gossip queens. Like that ain't cool, man. That is not the Filipino way. So anyway, no disrespect to the old Sayoks at all. No disrespect to the old school Sayoks whatsoever. Thank you, actually. Thank you to the Sayoks. But yeah, yeah, Ricky. Anytime, brother. Anyway, this has been long enough. Bah, 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 bah. I'm just running my mouth at this point. And just like flow drills, me talking too much without doing much more than that has a point of diminishing return. So thank you guys very much again. Peace out. One love.